Hello, you lovely, lovely people. Today we're going to talk about what, many of us who come here don't talk about. And not only here, but anywhere where we aren't in our own country. And that's about, missing home. Now, like I've said in my videos before, I miss home, but I don't miss it enough to want to give up, what I've got here. But some others can't take, that loss, because it is a loss. When you leave your own country and you come to a foreign country and you've been here for a while and things don't quite meet up to maybe what you was expecting, and this is when you will miss home more. Or you've gone through a bad relationship and then you start doubting the reason why you came. There are lots of reasons, because at the end of the day, it doesn't matter where you are in a foreign country, living on a beach, living in the city, you're still going to miss home. I don't care who you are. Many people say, no, I don't miss home. You will. It could be certain parts of it. Like, you've got a family back home, you've got parents. I've got no parents at all, my parents died. But some of us have. Some of us have come from broken marriages where we have children at home. Now, I think this is probably going to get to more foreigners, expats, than anything else. Is you're missing your kids, your children, even if they are adults, minor adults, but they're still your children nevertheless. Even if you've got a family here, which I've got a family here now, but there's no replacement for what you've left behind, regardless of how nice it is where you are. You will pang guilt. But when we get to the age where we are, we've got to start thinking not so much of what we miss, but what we can gain. So there's pros and there's cons. There is pros and cons. The pros for me is I have a better lifestyle here for less. I do, really. So I've got much less than I had back in the UK, but I've got more, if that makes any sense. Because it's not all about the money. It's not all about how much money you've got. To me, it's about doing much more of what I want to do. And that's what makes it better for me here. Now, the cons, there are many cons. I think, there's many people who don't talk about it. Vloggers, people that, expats who you meet. And I think if most of them were to tell the truth, they would say, yes, we do miss home. We do miss it. You can leave the country, but you can't take your country out of yourself. Like it's in your DNA. And let's be honest. Let's be brutally honest here. Why do most of us leave our countries? Is it because we really want to? Or is it because we have no choice? We forced out of it because of financial reasons? Or do we come here for a woman? Now, I think that's one of the worst things to do, personally speaking. I think it's one of the worst things that we can possibly come here for. Because if you're only coming here for a woman, if that breaks down, then you've come here for nothing, really. You've got to come here for yourself. You've got to come here for yourself, people. No use beating around the bush, because we all know relationships can break down no matter where you are, but it's a bit different when you've travelled halfway around the world and you could be a year or two into that relationship. So you've spent a lot of money and you might have give up a lot in your own country, like your house, like your job, to come and live in a foreign, a strange country where many of us complain about. The infrastructure, like we all say, is one. The way it is here, it's not all glory here. It's not, really, it's not. And I think if, before I came here, I think if I'd have known more about the country, would I have come here? I don't know. I really don't know. I wouldn't, I can't say, yes, I would still have come here if I'd have known what it was like here. And I can't say, well, no, I wouldn't come because, I don't want to be, like inconvenienced with the things that we can't have here. Or, the waiting time, all of that kind of stuff, which no one really talks about. And I think that it's, it needs talking about, because we can all big up the Philippines or talk down the Philippines, but we've got to talk about missing home. Many of us don't consider it, or we don't talk about it. Now, I miss home regular. I do. I don't miss living in the UK. I don't miss that. I really don't miss it. Not to say that I had a bad life when I was in the UK, because I didn't have a bad life in the UK. I had everything that I wanted in the UK. But it wasn't enough to make me want to take an adventure. Now, I took the adventure, which is why I'm here. But I still miss home. My kids, my two, my adult children, I miss them. Of course I do. And what happens is, the longer you're away, and I had a great, relationship, with my sons. They could talk to me about anything, especially, my second son. But you find the longer that you're away from them, and you can speak on the phone, you can video call, it's not the same. And you feel like, you drift apart, like father and son or father and daughter. You're drifting apart, and you think guilt. You do feel guilty, but then you have to put it into context of, well, they've got their lives, I've got my life. But no matter how much you talk yourself into that, you're still going to miss it, and you're still going to feel guilty. You really are. You're still going to have those pangs of guilt where, you aren't there with them all the time, and you aren't seeing them, progress, perhaps. I know when they are adults it's different, but you are still their parent. They are still your children. And like I said, many of us start, we get married again. We have, a family here or wherever you are. But that's not a replacement. It's not a replacement. It's something that happens. Like I said in my other previous video, I said I would never get married again. I said I would never have children. But, we don't know what happens in the future. So I didn't have my son, and I didn't get married again to replace what I'd left. Nothing to do with that whatsoever. It happened. And I love my son equally to my other sons. There is no doubt of that. And like I said, it's not a replacement. But I think if I didn't have a family here, and this is me speaking from my heart, would I still stay here? That I don't know. That I don't know. I think I would still live here, but I think I would have probably have gone back to the UK maybe for 6 months and come back here for 6 months and done that. But as it is, I can't really do that because, you know, my son here is 4 years old, you know, and he's a daddy's boy. And even if I go out the house for an hour, he raises holy hell. He really does. He raises hell. And he would miss me so much. And you know, you might say, well, you know, your sons in England miss you. Yeah, they may do, but they are adults. You know, they can understand where dad is. You know, but my 4-year-old wouldn't. And I want to see him go through school. I want to be there for him, and I like to watch him, you know, progress in his life. You know, the silly things are very important to me. And, you know, my family here need me more than my adult sons. You know, they've got their own lives, you know. Leighton's got his girlfriend, he's happily, you know. David, he's up near Manchester, Bolton way, and he's working with the girlfriend. So they don't really need dad there all the time, where my son here does. And I know what would happen if I left the Philippines to go back home. And, you know, no bad talk about my wife, but my son would go into that Filipino way. I know he would. And I don't want that. Yes, he's half Filipino, he's half British. And I want him to have a good education. I want to watch his education. Because here, education is everything. It really is. It's everything. And I know that if I was to leave here, it wouldn't happen. Because my wife, she's a very gentle person. She's a very shy individual. And she's not, you know, she's not the sort of person to go around and ask questions and, you know, what, you know, how much is this, how much is that, you know, what can my son get out of this school? She wouldn't do that. And, it's, you know, my son would probably end up going to a normal government public school, which, you know, where we are here. Just terrible. And I'm not sugarcoating that. I'm not saying they are great, because they're not. They really not. So I want my son to have the best. And at the moment, we're still going through the process of getting him a British passport, as well as his Filipino passport. And that's taken a long time. It's taken ages, because I had to, and it would have been quicker for me to go back to England and do it. I had to get my dad's birth certificate, my mother's birth certificate. They're both dead. So I had to go to the, you know, online to the registry offices and all that, and to, you know, to get them sent here. And it's a nightmare, people. It's a nightmare. It's not easy. It's not easy. You know, then you have to go to the British Embassy in Manila, and then you got to register his birth with the British Embassy. It's not easy, but it's worth it, because then he's got the choice. You know, when I'm dead and gone, he can go wherever he wants. He can go to England, and not, but I want to take him to England and show him where his daddy comes from. But now is a waste of time, because he wouldn't take it in. In a few more years, he'll be, you know, be more, you know, like he'll be able to take it in more. But now it just wouldn't be appreciated, and it's very expensive for the three of us to go to England and stay there for a month or something, and then come back here. But we are going to do that, but not just yet. And I'm just thinking, how am I going to feel when I go back to England? You know, I'm going to love seeing my sons, definitely. You know, that's going to be the highlight of it. And leaving them again to come back here will be a very distressing time. This is what people don't talk about. You know, many of these vloggers who have their channels, I'm sure they've got children in their own country, but they never really talk about it. They just talk about the Philippines, talk about Social Security, talk about banking over here and everything like that. And they don't really talk about their past lives. Now, you know, maybe they don't want to, but I think if they put their hand on their hearts, they would miss their past lives as well. Especially if they had children. Look, it doesn't matter about getting divorced from, your ex-wife and things like that. If things don't work out, that's the way it is. It's the same here. It's the way it is. But, we will always miss our children, no matter where we are. And that's the hardest part of settling somewhere. It really is. Because, you could have, like I said, you could have a beach house. You could have everything here. You could have thousands of dollars every month to waste. It still wouldn't take away that slight guilt, that you have. And I think it's very important to always remember that, not to forget and not to put it to the back of your mind. I mean, it's on the front of my mind quite regular, even when I hear some songs and I think, like Leighton used to listen to that. There's a man called Citizen Corp, and really good, good musician. And when I had my BMW and I used to pick him up from school, I used to, and he loved it. He loved it, because he like showing off to his friend. Look, my dad's got an M3, and he says, "Dad, put that Citizen Corp song on," which we did. I did, and I think it was called "Let the Drummer Kick." I think it was that song. And all these memories are always there. And, my son, Leighton, sent me a message. It was a few months ago. He said, "Dad, we're watching Citizen Corp on YouTube," and he took a picture and sent it to me. And, I was choked up. I got really choked up. And it's difficult, people. It is. It's difficult. But at least I face that. I face it. I don't put it to the back of my mind. I do think about it all the time. And this is what we must never forget, is the children that we did leave behind. But it's our time, guys. We are in the twilight of our years, okay? We are. We are in the twilight of our years. And I'm sure your children, the same as my children, can understand that it's our time. We haven't got that many years left. So why not spend the years that we have left doing things that we want? It's time for us to be selfish. It is time for us to be selfish. We've given up a lot in our lives. We've worked a lot in our lives. We've sweat. We've sweated. We've worked hard. To get where we got to. So now is our time. But like I said, it doesn't stop the guilt. It doesn't stop that missing home. Now, some people are lucky. Some people have never been married, never had children. They go to foreign countries, but they would still miss home, but they would miss a different part of it. Like I said, I don't miss England at all. I don't miss anything about England, and I'm pleased I'm not there because of the way England has become. But again, it doesn't stop you missing your kids. So that's it really, people. I just thought I would put that across. Maybe if some vloggers are watching this, they might be able to relate to it and say, you know what, Stephen's right. If not, it doesn't matter. But I'm just saying how I feel. I do miss home, and it's the way it is, people. And that's it. I'm in the beautiful part. They've cleared this, so they must be going to build a house here or something. It's all being cleared. Again, people bought this bit of land here. I don't think there was a title with it. I just think it was just a bill of sale, but that's the way it is here, people. Some people who've got the land will sell anything, and some people will buy anything without the proper paperwork being in order. So, what happens with this place, I don't know. Not my concern. But people, listen, take care. And speak to you soon. Blue sky. There's supposed to be typhoon coming, or I don't know, like a low pressure system or something coming through here, but there's no sign of it right now. Is it the calm before the storm? Who knows? Thank you, people. Take good care, and bye bye.